Just waiting for a few more people to join before we start. Everyone's coming in. Cool. We've got a few people. Hi everyone, how are we all? My name is Douglas Greenwood. I'm a contributing editor here at ID. And welcome to the episode 4 of Nothing to Hide. This is exciting. This week we're going to be chatting with Rina Sawayama, pop icon, as her new album came out today. Hopefully if you're here, you've heard of Rina. If not, you're in for a treat. And after this is all over, we're going to have a fantastic conversation. You can go back and listen to all of her stuff. It's incredible. So this is following on from her debut mini album, which came out in 2017, called Rina. And that earned her a killer fan base, many of whom will be here very soon. And are here right now. I'm looking at you all in the comments. And she got mad support slots with likes of Charlie XCX and years. She's a tenacious live performer. I've seen her a couple of times. A killer lyricist. What we'd call sort of like a proper pop star. And everything about this new album proves it. It's excellent and it's getting killer reviews, which is always nice. Yes, and she should very shortly be joining us to have a chat about the record and what she's been doing. And she's been waiting for a while to get this into the world. So blessed to have it now. I'm going to see if she's here. Oh, requests. Let's see.
Yes. Oh, hi!
Hi!
How are you?
I'm good. How are you? Nice to chat.
Yeah, nice to chat to you too. This is exciting. Congratulations.
Thank you. I put some makeup on today. I was like, I'm just going to make a bit of an effort.
Have you been establishing some sort of routine in this whole period, or have you been fairly laid back and lazy about everything?
Absolutely no routine.
What's the point?
Whenever, eat whenever. I ate a whole bag, like those massive bags of Doritos at 10 p.m. yesterday, and I never felt so good.
Honestly, sometimes you just need that. Right now, I think it's important just to give yourself these things.
Definitely. I woke up this morning and I had hobnobs, and I was just like, I'm living life.
It's release day. You deserve it. You've worked hard. It's all come now. Congratulations. It's so exciting to have this out in the world, and like I said, it's fantastic, and everyone else who's heard it is obviously a huge fan, and the reviews are fantastic. Does this day feel like how you thought it would feel? Does that make sense?
Well, you know what? Actually, releases are like quite like anticlimactic anyway, because you've like had the record for like so long that it's you're kind of getting out, and like with this record, I loved it so much, and I've been listening to it for months now. So when it's finally out, it's like a relief, but it's not as much as like, like really what it is just people sitting in the room being very quiet and typing notes is kind of what release day really looks like. It's not like everyone's like popping champagne like.
Yeah. Did you have
celebrating?
Yeah, did you have plans? Oh, eggs! Oh, fabulous! I've got a non-alcoholic gin and tonic.
Oh, here we go.
It's Friday. It's Friday after all. We might be inside, but it's Friday. Did you have Did you have mad plans? Exactly. Did you have mad plans for this day? Before this all happened, did you have like a mad party planned?
We were in the stages of like planning a release party. Physical, actual, in person in London. I think that was going to be the plan. But we're doing one this tonight at 8, and that's going to be online. So go on my Instagram to like check it out. We were going to go on tour in a week, which is like wild because I'm now like a full-time potato. So I don't think if someone was like, like the band's lifted, like you can go on tour tomorrow, I'd be like, just get
because
like my tour manager Claire to just throw on a sack of potatoes on the stage, and that'll just be it.
Because you're like a proper pop star. It's routines and wind machines and dancers and stuff. Like you can't just like jump into that. There's prep involved.
Well, it's really physically demanding, and it's not even like the hour that you're on stage, because I always joke that like if you're like a touring artist, you're only really doing like an hour's worth of work a day, and you're like I'm so No, it's more just you fly and you're traveling and like you're stationary, then you're suddenly up, and you know it's like kind of also making sure your voice is going to be all right for like 3 weeks or 4 weeks of constant singing. But yeah, I mean, I try. Like, I just want to put on a show, and I've always like, even when the venue sizes were like 100 cap, I was always like, I always had my wind machine going, which is so OCT. But it's not like for drama as much as it is like I sweat a lot, like a lot. So, and it like really stresses me out when I start sweating, and then like it kind of gets like a bit like an anxiety loop, and then I panic on stage. So that's
like meltdown mode. But also
yeah,
like the effect is nice as well. So it obviously is
exactly. A little bit
fab.
of
Yeah, I mean, this album is big and sort of indefinable in terms of genre. I want to ask about sort of the best pop stars and whether or not you sort of feel like you have to stick to a straightforward. Would you call this a pop album? What is your take on it?
I want to say it's an alternative pop album. I think that like I grew up with this sort of music, like new metal and stuff were in the charts. Like Limp Bizkit was like #1, and like Evanescence was #1 for weeks, and then you had like Kylie being #1. It was just like such an eclectic mix. So I feel like, yeah, it like to me it's just mainstream music, but then I think maybe the way I've like twisted it a bit is a bit alternative. But yeah, I mean the like it's really important that in the core of all the songs, like no matter what genre it is that it's still a good pop song in the middle, because I think it can be a bit like, so what, when it's just so much like production and so much this. And for me, I like my favorite songs are like the most like stripped down ones that, you know, tell a story or whatever. So yeah, in terms of pop writing, like I just really wanted to make sure that that was like solid.
Yeah, what makes a really really good pop song to you?
Oh, I mean, to me, I love it when in the first line of the first verse, you're immediately put into a situation like you already like you can smell where you were at. You know what I mean? Like you know what time of day it is, and you can visualize all these things. Like there's a song. I mean, Casey Musgraves is really good at that, but there was a song recently, like "Lover" by Taylor Swift. Like the first line of that song, where it's like, "You could leave the Christmas lights up till January." Like
Yeah.
it just like really puts a vision in your head. And I was like, I want to write songs that tell a story and move people, but is, you know, very specific but also broad as well.
Yeah. What song on this on the track list sort of felt like a fuck, we've like cracked this moment? What song were you like, okay, this is we're onto something. This is a good space.
I kind of want to say Akasaka Sad was fun. It was like me and Clarence were just in the studio, and I don't know how I came up. I'm just trying to think how that song first started. I think it started with the verse, because sometimes it starts with the chorus and you've got the hook and stuff. But yeah, it kind of, I've got this hotel that I stay in a lot in Akasaka in Tokyo, and I like sampled the sounds of that hotel, like the elevator and you know, sounds of like the corridor and doors closing and stuff. But yeah, that one was a kind of thematically and like sonically like quite out there and like interesting. I think another one is definitely like Dynasty was one that it took fucking ages to finish, like literally from start to finish. I think it was about 2.5 years, because it's just by the end, like if anyone understands like Ableton or like Logic, basically there was 250 tracks in the session, and like that was like us muting stuff, and we just like computers could just not handle it, and we were like working on a big computer, it just couldn't handle it. So like literally it took so long, and then we recorded all the drums. This guy called Freddie Sheen, who's like an amazing drummer. He drums for Lewis Capaldi, actually. Shout. Random. He was like having the best time ever. He was just like, wow. And John Gilmore and Joseph and like all these amazing people who are like all part of the Dirty Hit family, and we just kind of all finished it and made it shine. But it took forever. Yeah.
What was the last song that you finished on this? Was it fairly linear, or was it sort of all over the place?
Oh my god, I honestly think the last song I wrote was Chosen Family, and that one was with Daniel Hall, and that was kind of I mean, I'd been saying on like the lyrics for a while, and then in the plane, like I was like flying, and then I came up with a brand new melody for it, and then I like put it down on my phone, and then I like basically rewrote the whole thing kind of with Danny, but I really want to say, like, I feel like Dynasty was one of the last ones to be finished, just because the cleanup took such a long time. Bad Friend also weirdly took a long time as well, but those three, well, definitely Dynasty and Bad Friend, like, was just like weeks and weeks of like taking it apart, putting it back in. Does that sound need to be there? No, because often, like, when a session gets so big like that, when there's 250 tracks, it's just like you don't know what you're hearing. You don't want to also, like, it's quite rude to just like give the mixer like 250 tracks and just be like, here you go, just deal with that. And this guy called Spike Sten, who is just an incredible mixer, he's done fucking everything in the whole world, and he mixed it, and it just sounds incredible.
Yeah, and it's fantastic, and like, yeah, like genre wise, like you say, it's all pop, but it's also um so vast and exciting, and it's so great to hear an alt pop record that sounds like this. It's yeah, it's really great. Yeah, I want to get to some fan questions. A fan called Carlos asked about your plans to release new music videos. Obviously, you just dropped the video for
I just
XS about
dropped
an hour ago.
XS. Yeah, go
Yeah.
to YouTube. I just dropped my video for XS. We actually just did a premiere for it at like 3. Yeah, that was fun. Actually, yeah, with music videos, obviously because of lockdown, like everyone's not been able to do shoots, but literally like a day before lockdown, or it was so touch and go. Oh my God. So we did 2 shoots. We did one music video per day, and we did 2 shoots next to each other, like back to back. The first shoot was another video that's coming out. But the second shoot was XS, and on the first shoot, and in the evening, we were just like, we don't know, like, it was like, that's when they started doing like government announcements and stuff and doing press conferences. We're like, oh my God, like, if this doesn't go ahead, this is crazy. But we like spoke to all like the regulatory boards, and we checked that, like, you know, everything was still okay to go. And at the time it was fine, but it was like maybe 2 days after we wrapped the shoot that we, you know, the whole country went into lockdown. So it was so lucky. So we've got one more video coming out.
Oh, is that like, do you feel like you've got everything you need for the time being? Do you feel like there's something but besides touring, is there anything you're sort of like desperate or really wanted to do that you haven't had the chance to?
Besides touring, I think I'm pretty happy. Like, I'm quite amazed how much I've been able to do at home. And luckily the record was done, and like luckily the records were printed, and like, you know, all this was kind of, you know, already happening. So I was super lucky. But yeah, I mean, it's been pretty awesome being able to do stuff from home and still connect to people, still release videos, still release songs, and yeah, it's been wild.
Yeah, it's a nice thing about your fan base. They're all very active online, so it sort of just feels like any other day, or like any other release day. Maybe it's sort of like everyone's still super excited for it to be happening and excited to be here. Yeah. Another fan called Ed asked if you'd consider creating an entirely metal album, because obviously there's sort of like a flex of it in this record. Would you consider doing something like that?
You know, I don't know. Maybe if I get really proper angry or something. Like the record, like the way that it's so, like, there's so many genres is because, like, that's where the melody and the lyrics of that particular song wanted it to go. Like, I always listen to what it wants. So, like, obviously STFU is like a metal song, but it's called STFU. Like, the melody and it, you know, it just makes sense that way. But like, yeah, like stuff like Who's Gonna Save You Now, like, actually started off as like a 90s Max Martin kind of production. And then I was like, guys, I just watched A Star Is Born. Like, we need it to sound like that first scene when, like, you know, like Bradley Cooper is on stage, and it's like that, you can feel like the sound design is so good in that bit. You can feel like the energy of the crowd. Also, I watched Bohemian Rhapsody as well, so I was just like, oh my God, these like 2 stadium rock kind of moments. And no matter how like lame that is as a genre, like, it's not cool. But I thought, because the song is about redemption, how cool is it, like, standing on stage and singing this song and pretending, you know, that I'm singing to a huge stadium, which has not happened yet. But like, I was like, I'll wish it into the universe.
But that's a nice thing about being even like being part of like Dirty Hit, and so you sort of have the freedom to make those calls that some people might think are a bit naff, but also it gives you the opportunity to recontextualize them. Yeah, and it sounds great. What's the what's it like with your Dirty Hit family? How's that all going?
I fucking love them. Shout out to Johnny here. Shout out to Jamie. Shout out to Chris. Shout out to Tom, Purdy, Jack, Ed. Who else am I missing? Yeah. Fucking love
The
them
whole lot.
so much. They're so great. Like, I don't know, they got it from the beginning. They didn't want to change anything. Jamie heard STFU in the first meeting, and he was just like, burst out laughing and was like, you need to send me that immediately. And then kind of like things moved really quickly from there. But at that time, really, like, I had gone through so many different like label meetings and like even contracts at that point. I had like started and fallen through, or gotten to like really last stage and then fallen through. And I was like, this album must be pretty shit because like no one wants it. It would kind of sounded like it was now. Maybe obviously less polished because it wasn't mixed and all that, but I was quite down about it. I was like really not feeling very confident. People would kind of listen to STFU and be like, and I'd be like, look, this is so sick. This should be the first song because I haven't been, you know, I've been here in a while and blah, blah. And they just kind of be like, oh, that's great. I just think we should get back in the studio and like there should be a couple more like, you know, songs that, you know. And I was just like, no, it's kind of done. I feel like it's done. Like it's done. But Jamie and like Dirty here and Chris, like my A&R, was like the ones who were like, no, this is it. This is done. Let's just make it better. Let's just make the sound better. Let's just put you in like the studio to just engineer it rather than, you know. And yeah, I love them. They're great.
And yeah, and
Shout
the payoff, yeah. Yeah. It's nice to have a little bit. It's nice to have a little bit of freedom, especially as a pop artist. You're expected to do lots of things that you don't want to do and make music you don't want to make, and this feels like you in a record, which must be so gratifying.
No, I'm glad that they got it. Like it's pretty amazing that I sent them like this huge PDF being like talking about the worlds of the songs, and like it's gone so like it's not that at all, but I remember being like, this is like the soundscape and this is like, and then like someone opens this like thing that they like that has been unearthed, and then like a projection like shows up, and then this, and then it goes into like excess. I was just like being so extra, but I had like loads of stuff, like loads of this whole world around the album, and they kind of got it. Like it was just awesome.
Yeah, how much of that? I mean, I've had lots and lots of questions, obviously, about live stuff, and obviously, when that time comes, it's going to be super exciting. Do you have any plans visually in terms of what you want to do for this next tour? What is like on your?
I have a lot of hopes and dreams. Well, I mean, first of all, we've got a band now. So we were touring with 2 dancers before and a DJ. But now we've got a guitarist and a drummer. So just imagine the sound of the album, but in live instruments. And this is the first time I've ever toured with a live band. So it's going to be super exciting. In terms of visuals, I mean, it's a tricky one because like only in some venues where there's like actual capacity to do proper visuals, because like, you know, there's like capacities are quite genuine and stuff. But I mean, like, yeah, I want to do it all, but it's just all like kind of my, you know, like my manager's being like, we can't do that. Like no, like we can't do that.
You've got to have those aspirations, because otherwise you won't get to do that. You got to at least put it on the table and see what people say.
Exactly. I'm like, look, I really just like, I think it'd be super cool if we had a motorbike on stage, and then it has to be like someone that has to be like, Rina, shut the fuck up. Like that's not going to be possible on this tour, huh? And you're playing that venue is 300 cap. Well, we're not going to do that.
Drive it, like make a space for the crowd to drive on stage.
Yeah, I'm like, can we just have a runway in each venue? Or
Honestly, when that happens, it's going to be iconic, and we're going to love it. So it'll come. It's good. A fan called Deborah asked about fantasy as a genre and whether you're a fan of it, and whether there were any fantasy books or films that you really liked.
Oh, interesting. I don't know. I mean, if you're talking about Final Fantasy, then I'm like, that's kind of all I played growing up. I don't know if I've really like grown up reading like fantasy, or like, I don't know. My thing's been computer games. And there's like a little Final Fantasy victory song reference in Snakeskin, and kind of reference them again in Cyber Stockholm Syndrome. Just kind of waiting for them to like come and like sue me. No, I'm joking. But, no, it's like I love games, and I'm very inspired. Like Paradising is very much like a computer game, and kind of my mum like chasing me, and kind of like a cat and mouse sort of vibe. And yeah, Snakeskin is definitely. I mean, I wanted it almost to feel like, you know, that like the Windows pipes wallpaper, you know, like the the pipes one, whereas I wanted it to sound a little bit like when it drops. I wanted it to, like, for you to imagine that you're in like the Windows pipes. So this is the sort of thing that producers have to deal with. Like, artists being like, well, can you just make it sound like it's like in a, like we're in Windows and there's like pipes, and like Clarence Clarity is literally like, I'm constantly saying shit like that, and I'm just like, can we just like imagine that we're inside this bottle, and then like there's like echo, but it's like going around your head, you know, like nightmare. Absolute nightmare.
But it must be really nice when it actually when you get there and you're like, oh yeah, that is exactly what I was thinking.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. And like the people who I worked with on this record is just insane. They got it. Like Daniel Hull, even with Chosen Family, I was like, I fucking love Rainbow by Casey Musgraves. I really want this country, like I've got this song and this melody and these lyrics that just needs to have this like huge expanse around it, but like feel very intimate at the same time. And then he was just like, yeah, got ya, horses galloping. And like,
there you go.
Campfire. Yeah, no, it's great. And like obviously like Clarence Farity just absolutely nails it, and I'm like sending him samples of like the elevator from the back of the room, and then he's just like putting it in, and yeah, it's wonderful. It's so fun.
A fan called Mo from Vancouver in British Columbia has reached out and asked if you'd considered translating the record into Japanese.
If someone else did it for me, I'd do it.
Why are you not so sure? Is it just the effort?
It's just the effort. I'm not gonna lie to you, babes. Like that is a lot of like I'm not very good at writing Japanese. Like let's just say that. Like even with my mum, when I talk to her, it's very much broken. You know, like I did some interviews in Japan, and like it was over the phone and stuff, but I had to like do it in English, and they kindly like translated it for me. But if someone wants to translate it, I would happily sing it. You know, but it's just like I can't even imagine. Like writing English is like sometimes a bit hard for me, so I don't know like how doing that in Japanese is gonna be.
There'll be someone in these comments who will be in your DMs. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like,
yeah, someone here. Yeah, it'll happen. I'm sure someone will 100% be working on that as we speak.
That would be
yeah, there's a fan from China called Shuo has asked if you had a favorite track on here, or a track that means the most to you.
Oh my god, it changes every time, but I'm gonna say Dynasty, because it's like I don't know, sometimes it's Bad Friend. I don't know, the other week it was Bad Friend, because it was like but sometimes when it's like goes out to the world, then I'm like, I kind of like take another child from the album, and I'm like, okay, I love you now. But I think Dynasty, because it was such a fucking pain in the ass, and now it sounds great, so that's like, I think I love it, but it changes every time. And Dynasty for me is like, if the record was a thesis, Dynasty is the title. And it's like, won't you break the chain with me? Like that's kind of the title. And just I'm asking people if they would do that with me, and then the whole sort of exploration. But I'm kind of there's a little detail in Snakeskin. I always thought about the beginning and the end, and me and Clarence were like, Dynasty is definitely going to start it, Snakeskin is going to end it. That was always from the beginning. That was how it was going to be. But like, yeah, figuring out the middle bit was really hard, because it's just so many different genres. But at the end of Snakeskin, there's a little phrase, and my mum says that she actually finishes the record in Japanese, and I really want people, the viewers and the listeners, to find out what she's saying. It's in Japanese, like, it's not hard, but yeah. Someone's
surely picked it up, or will be picking it out right now as we speak. I have one last question from a fan called Zach, who asked if you still feel like an ordinary superstar, or if becoming more famous and more well known has changed that.
Oh, I don't know. I always feel like an ordinary superstar. My friends always joke that, I don't know, like, so Chester, my best friend in LA, Chester Lockhart, like he was saying yesterday, he's like, I'm gonna make an Instagram page where it's all about you leaving your socks in places, because that's kind of something I do all the time. Like if I go to your house, there will be socks stuffed down the side of the sofa. I don't know why. Like, I've done it since I was younger. My feet don't smell, by the way, but it's just like a little thing. I don't know. Yesterday was 2 socks there, and I was like showing him. He's like, I'm actually going to do an Instagram account. Go for it. But yeah, I don't know. Sorry, it just like doesn't answer the question. I just feel so lucky. Like, every day, I'm like, I just don't quite understand what's going on a lot of the time. I'm like, I don't understand that people are listening to my music. Like, I'm just like, oh, like, people around the world are listening to my music. I mean, it's just so surreal. And I feel so lucky all the time. Like, I just, yeah. It's so surreal. I'm so grateful. And I just always like channel that into just trying to make more stuff and just, yeah. But I'm always thinking about like, how can I make people happy? And it's not like trying to like, I don't want to appease people, but it's just how can I like make like the best stuff, and so that people like just positive stuff that people will make people happy. And that's kind of my driving force. I just hope that I will just keep on that. And that's my guiding principle.
Wonderful. I think you've done that, and that's great.
I think so.
Yeah, thank you so much, Rina. Congratulations
Thank you so
again.
much.
Enjoy tonight. Enjoy 8 p.m. If you go into Rina's Instagram page, you'll be able to join in that massive launch party, which sounds fabulous. But yeah, thank you so much,
Thank you
and
so
have a
much.
lovely rest of your day, and hopefully see you soon.
Yes, for sure. Bye, Pixels. Thanks for watching.
Bye.
Thanks, Sadie.
Bye. Bye. Amazing. That was Rina Sawayama. Her album Sawayama came out today. I thoroughly recommend you go and listen to it. And yeah, have a great weekend, guys, and see you soon. Thanks.